What's up, gamers? Welcome back to the channel. I wanted to talk about this post that the Lost Ark devs just put out concerning the roadmap. They started off by thanking everyone for their participation in the second anniversary and just for playing the game, right? Which is cool. And I do want to shout out to the dedicated players, streamers, content creators that they do work hard to try to keep this game afloat. And even more than that, they do try to grow this game. I think it's a really good game. Unfortunately, there are some things that I wish would get improved so that I could play the game on a more consistent basis. But I do make sure I always come back from time to time. I constantly check, the blog posts, and I always come back for any event or any new character launches. Right? Super excited for Breaker. Definitely looking forward to that. I will be making a Breaker. But what they were really talking about in this post is changes to the roadmap. So they plan on bringing the Mokoko Express Pass or Mokoko Express Event, to March, right? So they're moving it up so that players can pretty much build their breakers. That's what it seems like they're trying to do, because that's what they mentioned here, the breaker theme. So it looks like they want us to build our breakers for Theamine, which is the next upcoming raid that's coming to the game. So I think that's super cool, right? The biggest drawback one of the biggest drawbacks to Lost Ark is honing your character to the required item level or eye level so that you can compete in those higher raids or newer raids. And, it's tough, right? It's a grind and people struggle. I struggle with making it, right? Especially because I'm not a consistent player. I come back from time to time. So I think my highest character might be 1560 at the moment. So, obviously that's nothing, right? There's people like in the 1630s. The average player right now who plays consistently is probably around 1600 or 16, almost, between that 1600 and 1620 range, I would say. So I'm definitely far behind, and it's cool. I play the game, like I said, my own leisure. When I want to get into it, I get into it. But I am looking forward to the Breaker. I am looking forward to this event, and I am going to make a Breaker. I have been saving up materials and some gold to try to push my Breaker. So hopefully it will become my main character, and hopefully I can get it to 1600. That's my hope. But, again, owning is not easy, and but I'm going to do my best, right? So I think this is really cool that they realize that, the new class release is probably the biggest thing that they have going for themselves. So yes, bring the Mokoko event early so that people can take their breakers into Theamine, because I think that's going to be the next peak of the game, right? Breaker comes out, Theamine around the corner. And it's weird, right? Because it has this dichotomy that it could add FOMO, but it could also remove FOMO, right? And what do I mean by that is, so you might have people in panic mode to push their breakers, but you might have people who just use this event to get up other main characters, right? That were on the cusp of being able to get into Theamine, and now they can use this event to finish off their characters to get them to the event. So I think it's really good for people who, will have a little bit of FOMO that's like, I want to get my breaker there. But also the people that have no interest in really pushing their breaker. They want to get their main, and they've been trying desperately to get their mains to at least 1600 or 1620, right? And this event should help them get into the 1600s at least. So I think that's really cool. They talk about more about returning events here for March and April, 1600 plus, events, and even bonus when you clear all the content and you finish the event. So I think it's really cool. The other thing is competitions. People love competitions, right? It gives people a sense of purpose, a sense of achievement, and they're doing this Theamine first thing where, if you guys remember a while back, they said when they bring out Theamine, it's going to be the original Korean version, which was the more difficult version. Some people probably don't like that because, you want the current version, right? But then others who are more competitive, they do want that challenge. They do want to see if they are able to accomplish what the Korean players accomplish, right? Because that's the bar, right? The Korean players are the bar. So you're like, hey, I'm pretty good at this game too. I want to show that I could beat this raid like they were able to at its most difficult format, right? Or at its highest difficulty, I should say. So I can appreciate that. I like how they're doing a world's first or a region first, right? So that people have something to look forward to, right? So those top players, those high end players, can now compete. But they're also bringing out a normal and a hard mode, which will be the current version, which is the easier version of the Theomine raid. So you're going to get the normal so you're going to get the normal and hard mode versions of Theomine, the current version, right, the easier version, and then you're also going to get the original, more difficult version, and that's going to be a competition for a region first, and I think that's really cool. And there's no secret, this right here, you guys see it, it's huge. Server merges, that's something that the game has desperately needed, especially as the player count has dwindled over the last year. Sometimes you may log on and realize you can't find a group, right? And if you're an East Coast player, you log on late where there's not that many East Coast players playing at that time, you're kind of screwed. And the same thing I'm sure goes for the West Coast, and I'm sure the same thing goes for South America. Now, forgive me for my ignorance. I don't know the South American time zone, so I don't know how what their times are relative to East Coast and West Coast, but I'm sure it's going to help everyone when you merge all three regions, because what you're going to have is now those players from the West Coast that probably log in when it's peak time for East Coast, or at least around that time, they'll be able to get groups, right? And the same thing for East Coast players who log in when it's a higher peak for West Coast players, and you'll be able to find groups. Same thing for South America. They'll just probably get from both, right? And the biggest thing is supports, right? It's hard to find supports in this game. Obviously, the game is built around combat. That's probably the best feature of the game, combat and raids. So most people are going to want to play the DPS, damage dealer, because that's the intriguing and more engaging part of the combat system. So it is lacking some supports. This may help with that. It at least should help with that. And it's the best thing that I think, Amazon Studios can do. If this was even their idea, or, Smilegate's idea, I'm not sure. I'm sure it was a collaborative, idea. But definitely the players have been asking for this for, I think, over a year now. That people have been saying merge the regions. I know it was a big thing for the EU as well, the merge the regions. So I think this is a W announcement. I'm pretty sure they heard a lot of the backlash that they were receiving, that people weren't that happy with these anniversary rewards. They wanted more, and I guess this is their way of giving more, right? It's like, hey, we're just going to give you the Super Mokoko, 1580 patch early, so you guys can build out your breakers. There's a lot of you that's just looking forward to your breaker. You want to take your breaker in Theomine, so we're gonna do that for you, as well as we're gonna help the newer players or the players that's been struggling to reach the required eye level. This event is also going to help you. So I think it's a big W. Lost Ark needs to start stacking up some W's. Like I said, the game has been in player count decline, which is unfortunate to see, because it is a good game. And I don't even want to say like it has a great base game. It has more than that. The base game is good, but the game has just so many systems that keep you occupied, right? It's just lacking. I think the only thing that's lacking is activities to coincide with those systems, right? A ton of systems, a lack of activities. But at least this gives us an activity to look forward to. The Mokoko Express passes or Express events are always fun. It brings a lot of people back to the game. It brings a lot of joy to the game. And, everyone's looking forward to the Theomine raid. And this is really going to help a lot of people get geared up for it. If you listen to the Korean players, they don't usually get this, right? They always usually are in panic mode and high anxiety to get ready for a new raid, Whereas at least over here, for the most part, outside of the Argos debacle in year one, AGS has done a good job of giving us the tools we need leading up to a major raid. And I think this is going to really help. And I'm gonna stop rambling and leave it there. But yeah, like I said, I'm looking forward to Breaker. I'm looking forward to Theomine. I do like Lost Ark. Again, like I said, I wish it had a couple more activities for all the systems, because after a while you just get overwhelmed with the systems. And I might do a video breaking down its systems in comparison to its the activities to coincide with those systems. But sometimes you just get burned out. There's so many systems, you want to complete everything, but there's just not enough activities to allow you to do so. So you start falling behind in those systems, and then you start getting gatekept because you haven't completed those systems, or you don't have a certain level of accomplishment within those systems, and then you just give up, right? And the same thing with the server merges, right? Anybody sees a game that there's no players, I can't get a group, I can't get this, I can't get that, they just assume it's a dead game, and then they move on to the next game, right? So these are a lot of W's. There's a lot of good things happening here. Again, look, AGS, this is not their game. They just support it, in our region, in the West. And what we really just got to look forward to or hope is that eventually we get a little bit more activities so that it's easier for you to accomplish and conquer those systems in the game. But again, W patch, W update. You're listening to your players. It's always good to see what companies listen to their players. And leave your comments below if you like this patch. Leave your comments below if you don't like this patch. And as always, click the subscribe button to hear more, and like the video if you enjoyed it. Peace.